Any red button.
I pushed the button.
The red candy-like button.
See, the weird thing is now it won't switch cameras automatically.
Hmm.
I don't think.
It's switching for me.
Is it?
Yep.
It's not
Yeah,
switching
Greg just popped up on mine.
Yep.
Big when he
Yeah,
started
but then
talking.
when I talk, I don't pop up.
Well, that's a
bully
feature,
for
not a
you.
bug.
Yep.
So that means I'm gonna have to click my own button.
That's a setting somewhere.
Talking. Is it a setting somewhere?
Yeah,
It can't be.
it has to be.
It's not.
It is.
Hmm.
But it's not.
It clearly is.
It's not. I'm looking at it. It's not. It literally is not. No.
You've clicked something somewhere.
I didn't. Though.
Hmm.
I didn't. That's the
Seems
thing.
suspect.
We are
See, when you're the
connected, though.
only person in the world that it's happening to, it's usually your problem and not
Wow.
But no, it's not.
Mr. High Power producer.
Let me pop up the
Mm-mm-mm.
chat here. It is. It's working.
Oh man.
Apparently I'm very quiet. Again.
Hmm.
It's one of the things I like about you.
Well.
My other co-host is Phil. Use the
Ah,
piece.
taloo, talay, talay, taloo.
Taloo, talay.
Kaloo,
I'm just gonna
kalay.
turn myself up here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. See, that worked. Kinda.
Hmm.
Not really. Ugh. How you guys doing?
CJ.
What?
You sound fine to me, buddy.
Well, yeah.
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 Oh my god.
What are we talking about this week? I mean, how do we follow? Should we just not do a show anymore? I mean, how do you follow
Yes.
up last week?
So we're live on the stream at the moment.
Yes.
I am looking for the stream and I can't find it. I assume that
It's
means
there.
it's broken for everyone.
It's
Well,
there.
I won't tell you my
There it
dark
is.
secret that affects not just the future of this podcast, but the future of our friendship in general.
Ouch. What's that?
I've accepted a new job
Yeah.
at Giant Bomb.
Right on.
Going to Giant Bomb.
Why? They're sick of success, or
Yes.
were they like, oh, we need someone to kill this franchise, and we've looked at your records.
They heard the Devil Show, and they were like, "We gotta get on that while the iron is hot."
Like, get on it? Like,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
wow.
yeah, like
Okay.
like how you're thinking.
What?
Whoa.
So
That's
that happened.
that is sexual.
That well, sensual is how we prefer to think of it.
Uh-huh.
I see.
Just saying.
Uh-huh.
Should I be recording?
I'm recording.
Oh, I'm not.
The screen is
I
flickering.
am now recording.
Let me open
Yeah, they're
Audacity.
complaining about a screen flicker, but I'm not seeing it.
Not much I can do about that.
Oh boy.
Nothing I can do about that. Sorry.
Listen, I have 300 torrents going and I'm not stopping them. So
I can't. Nothing I can do about that. Sorry.
There we go. Now I am recording.
Okay, good. We doing a clap?
Oh, do I?
I've got the clap.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Look at that. Look at that. That was perfect.
That was a great clap.
That was perfect.
That was a nice little clap that we made when we're all moving our hands.
That was
What?
good. That was good.
It was the clap song. That was the post-clap song.
Post clap. Yeah.
Post clap drip.
That
All right,
was
let's
the
do this thing.
nice little clap that
I'm
we
gonna have to
made.
click on
Okay.
myself because this one thing won't auto switch to me when I'm talking. So that'll be great.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to episode 667 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I'm your host, Chris Johnston, and with me as always from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I got a whole bunch of new toys this week, so I can't wait to talk about them.
I saw that
Oh,
on
I love
Twitter.
toys.
I saw that all over
And by the
Twitter.
way, congratulations on the new Skywarp. That is a beautiful Skywarp.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. That's part of the Transformers Siege line. It's an Amazon
Siege,
exclusive
like
here in
me,
the
I'm-
States.
My name's Siege.
Very
No,
pretty.
Siege.
No.
I mean, he's just got such a great color palette.
Well,
for
Sky-
such a character. Yeah,
Skywarp is the best Transformer Seeker.
I'm still partial to Starscream.
I mean, Starscream is the better character. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, the Seekers have the best names though
That is also true.
in Transformers. I mean, they're just fantastic names.
I don't know. There's a little Autobot Micromaster named Erector. So
I'm partial to the Constructicon Swindle as well.
Swindle.
that's not a Constructicon.
Oh, sorry, the Combaticon Swindle.
Jesus. This is why you don't get to come on points of articulation. Because you would embarrass
What's
us.
the points of articulation?
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's my real podcast.
Hmm.
That's That's the podcast I'm on that doesn't have to resort to cheap gimmicks
Really?
in order to get people.
And you're
talking.
you're
I
on
don't
it.
know. Speaking
Well-
of cheap gimmicks,
Yeah.
from the great state of Washington, Mr. Phil Theobald's here as well.
I'm
There's
the
none cheaper.
cheapest gimmick of all.
That's all right. I would like to
Ugh.
say, I'd like to kick off this episode by saying thank you to
Sven
Mr.
Gulli.
Phil Theobald for really making episode 666 what it was. Without
I
without
had no
your
hand in that.
He was
improvisa-
quiet for most of the episode.
Yeah, I was too nervous to talk.
Sure,
With such an impressive guest.
it's true.
So I can't help it. I was nervous.
But no, really, bravo. It
Bravo.
turned out good. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out when
No.
we started recording. Because we had this list of 13 games that didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It made perfect
as
sense. They
pointed
were
out.
the top 13 games of all time.
And then the voice made it all
I
work.
don't know what you're
In-
talking
in
about.
editing, it made it all work.
I don't know
And
what you're talking
It
about.
was very fun to edit that show, and then
Really?
extremely fun to watch.
That was
people's
fun?
Reactions to it. It was fun. Yeah. 'cause
Then we'll
all
do it every week.
No,
Hello, every.
not every week, but so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
basically I had like one track as the pitch shifted track, and whenever anyone talked in the Satan's voice, I just dragged that down to there, dragged it down to hell.
Wow,
See, that's
very
how it works.
impressive.
Yeah.
CJ,
What?
you're too kind. Thank you.
But really, great stuff. Just
Well-
super funny episode, and I think it. Many listeners agree, it is one of our best.
I
think
expect.
I think now we can stop podcasting completely because we'll.
I
never
don't
get
even know
any
why we're
better.
here this week.
Yeah.
I expect some compensation in my pay.
Yeah, I'd say what 15% CJ. We'll give him 15% of his regular.
Like 15% raise of your nothing.
Oh, but see, you ruined the
nothing.
joke.
Yeah, that was the joke.
That was the joke. Okay.
Good job.
This is why you didn't play the Dark Lord.
Oh my goodness.
True. I did a couple lines. Greg, you didn't do any.
You're right.
Yeah.
Did I mention how late it was during that show?
It was late.
Can anyone listening? Could
Ugh.
you tell how sick and tired I was of the whole thing by the end?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was late. It was like it was after midnight by the time.
It was after midnight my
After
time.
midnight.
It was after midnight by the time we started the after show.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we went an hour on that or
Mhm.
something like that. So.
The real hero here is Greg
That's right.
for
Putting
staying
up
up.
with you.
Yeah.
But also another thing that was
It was a
great
good show.
was Sven Gulli's
Oh,
yes.
recording there for the
Forget
show.
it.
That made me so happy to hear. Just as a Chicago born person and fan of comedy and broadcasting.
I like how CJ's turned like the first 10 minutes of our new episode into a big pat on the back.
Big pat on the back. Oh yeah, pretty much.
Good job, CJ,
Pretty much.
for this masturbatory intro.
For the 5 or 6 hours it took me to edit that thing, you better believe. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. And if anybody didn't check the show notes, you can see the video of the various celebrity shout outs that we got off of Cameo That does not include the Svengoolie shout out, but
No, Svengoolie we actually reached out to directly.
you
Yeah.
reached out to him directly.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I was trying to be gracious, CJ. I was trying to make it
credit
seem like
where
a
credit
team.
is due.
Trying to make it seem like a team effort, man.
I did all the
Jeez.
cameos. You did all the begging for free stuff.
For the record,
Yeah.
Elvira's people, Cassandra Peterson,
Uh huh.
did not get back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Neither did Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Robert Englund, Freddy
Those
Krueger.
those would have been fun.
His people did not get back to us either. So
I'm not shocked. Those.
I am not either. That was a long shot at best.
Yeah,
And sometimes, sometimes it just didn't happen.
it's true.
So
It's true. But thanks everybody for listening to that show. Hope you liked it. If you didn't,
Too
sorry.
bad.
Sorry.
If you didn't, sorry.
we'll try to do better next time we do a 666th episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. Points of articulation. You got a couple hundred to go.
Yep. We're about 400 or so away.
Ice Cream Social's creeping up on us.
Actually,
Yeah,
that's
but come
true.
on, they do like a couple episodes a week. It's
They
cheating.
do two episodes a week. Yeah.
That's what a couple is.
Yeah.
A
Two or
couple
three.
is two. Couple is
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Math checks out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Should we talk about news?
Did you even intro Phil?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't listening.
He said it's Phil.
I said,
Hey,
hey,
that's Phil.
That guy there
Yeah,
is Phil from the great state of Washington. I said that.
that's me.
So we missed some news. So let's quickly go through the two things that I put on the
Oh.
outline.
We missed some news. Here's two items.
There's two items, yeah. So TurboGrafx 16 mini console. We got
Yes.
an announcement for 7 more games.
Yeah,
7
out of
more
nowhere.
games out of nowhere. Yes. Let me move this window here so I can see the list. So the editions are Dragon Spirit, Galaga
Mhm.
88, Seirei Senshi Spriggan Mark II, the Genji and the Heike clans, and the Legend of Valkyrie.
And
And what?
Is there another one?
Is there another one?
Splatterhouse,
Oh,
right?
Splatterhouse. That's right. Splatterhouse. Yes.
We talked about this last week.
Splatterhouse.
Splatterhouse.
Yeah, it was added to the TurboGrafx 16
Now-
mini. So that's
Now you
great.
know what this says to me.
What's that?
This
They were
says to
listening
me.
the show. They
Hmm?
realized they were listening. The people at Konami were listening to the show. They realized they forgot Splatterhouse, and they made a quick last minute addition.
No, what this says to me is they finally struck a deal with Namco.
Oh yeah, why?
Good,
Are all,
well-
Galaga 88, obviously.
Galaga 88. Yeah.
Dragon Spirit,
Yeah.
Splatterhouse,
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Maybe that's just what was holding it back. Maybe
Uh,
they hadn't been announced yet.
the Genji and Heike clans, also Namco.
Okay.
Legend of Valkyrie, also
So
Namco.
all Namco.
They're all Namco.
So
all Namco
I mean,
games.
that's and Spriggan. I don't know if Spriggan is Namco or not. It might be.
Bandai, because Spriggan. There's also an anime series. Spriggan.
Oh, okay.
So
But yeah, they
Would make sense.
clearly
Oh yeah, Bandai Namco. So
they
yep.
they clearly finalized a deal with Namco / Bandai. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's
So
good.
that
Get
thing
some more
Oh,
just
games.
becomes more and more desirable.
yep,
Does I have my pre-order in? I assume you guys do as well.
Oh yeah.
of course I do. I had it in the moment it went up.
Speaking
Same.
of mini consoles, though, last week as well, everyone started receiving their Genesis Mini review units.
I
Ooh.
saw that. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going around. The My Life in Gaming guys did a good video on it. GameSack did a really good video on it. Victor Lucas on EP Daily unboxed and played the unit on the internets. It looks good. It sounds like there's a couple of hitches, but nothing major.
Somebody say sketches.
What are the
No.
What are the hitches?
Oh. Honestly, I don't even remember what they are because that's how small they were. Overall, it looks really. Oh, like one of the little things that I heard was like the in the interface, the directional pad presses were too sensitive.
Oh,
Like little things like that. That's what I'm
Oh.
talking about. So
Okay.
and you know the My Life in Gaming guys pointed out, although they were very diplomatic about it, which is we know that this is an M2 box, right?
Mhm.
And having gotten used to sort of the deluxe treatment M2 gives a lot of older games, all the games they do, basically,
Mhm.
none of that's here, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, there's great things like with Contra, where if you change the region, you're playing the Japanese version of Contra, so you actually have life bars, and you might actually be able to finish the game.
Sure.
But like you look at things like Fantasy Star on the Switch, where it auto maps, nothing like that here, or like Outrun on the Switch and on the 3DS, where you had different settings, so you had like a higher top speed or better traction, stuff like nothing like that there, which is fine. You didn't really expect it, but if you're that kind of customer, it's not there.
Right.
So not really a complaint, just they pointed it out. So, but overall, it sounds great. It sounds like everyone's really digging it. I've seen pretty much nothing but positive reviews on it.
Good.
And further that, I also want to call out friend of the show, Kevin Larrabee, has started releasing Back in My Play episodes again.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Which I mentioned last week as well. But yeah, they're starting to come out with more frequency. And I know that he's planning more. So really glad to hear that, because he puts together an awesome show, and
Absolutely.
I missed him. I miss listening to him.
That's great.
Me too. Latest episode is about Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
With
Ryan
John
Linneman and Ryan Payton.
That's right.
That's a good game.
That is.
Yep.
Even though I've only played like the very beginning of it.
What?
That game was a masterpiece. Resident Evil 4 was an incredible game.
And you've barely played it, CJ?
I barely played it. Yeah.
Even I've played a lot of Resident Evil 4, and I don't really play those games too much.
Did you finish it, Greg?
No, I never finished it.
What is? I'm living in a cuckoo clock. This is ridiculous. How am I the only person who's finished RE4?
I don't know.
Come on, man.
I finished RE5, 5, and 6, and 7.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I finished
7
Dead
was
Rising
great.
4. Does Dead Rising 4 count?
No.
No? Oh.
Most certainly not.
Okay.
Jeez.
Well, maybe I'll pick up one of the re-releases on Switch or something.
You absolutely will not.
I don't know. Maybe I will.
You may buy it, but you will never play it. How about that?
You're probably right.
Yeah. You'll buy it.
No, here's what'll happen. I'll buy it and I'll play it up to the point where I played it on the Wii.
And then you'll go, "Oh, Sea of Thieves is calling."
No, well, let's see. Dragon Quest 11S came out. I'll play that instead. That'll probably
no.
Yeah. Or my daughter will be asking me to play Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Have your kids started school already this year?
No.
Okay.
That doesn't happen until after Labor Day.
See, now I thought in some places in the States that they'd actually already started going back to school.
They did, like in Georgia.
That's weird.
They're in school already, but not here.
Yes. Not here.
Great. That's why, because you used to be in Georgia, and I remember us talking about like, hey, the end of schools are almost here, and CJ's like, well, no, my kid's been out of school for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well, since we moved, so my daughter got out of school at the end of May, and then now she doesn't go back until the beginning of September. So she has a really long summer.
You had a 3-month summer vacation.
When we got here, all of the like YMCA day camps were filled up. So it's been daddy daycare.
So it's been daddy daycare.
Yeah, basically.
Or as some people refer to it,
family
parenting.
Time.
Parenting. Yeah.
That's right. I just pull out my Switch and start playing Friday the 13th.
That's parenting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sit over there and play your games. Daddy's busy.
That's right.
Ugh.
But in other news here, loot boxes. Let's talk about that. So there was a big FTC hearing on that, and as part of it, the ESA came out with a statement that says that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo will start requiring developers to disclose loot box odds. So this is going to happen around 2020. Mobile gaming, I think Apple and Google, but definitely Apple already requires developers that have loot boxes in their games to disclose the odds. So we can talk about how effective that is really in...
It's not at all. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, you're talking about two major issues here. One is there's a groundswell of things like I think it was The Guardian. Was it The Guardian? It was in the UK running stories about kids who cleaned out their parents' bank accounts. Which my first reaction is, why do you allow them to make digital purchases with your credit card, like unfettered? Like, why don't you have that locked down? But anyway, still, whatever. And then the other major group you're talking about are people who have serious addiction problems. And I'm sorry, I would love to hear that disclosing drop rates curbs that behavior somehow. I feel like it's more of a well, we told them what the drop rates were, so now we're clear. You know what I mean? Like, we're not liable anymore. It feels like it serves the people who are disclosing the rates more than it serves the people who actually have a problem.
Yeah.
But they had to do it. I mean, that's where we're going. You know, the government's looking now. There's a lot of stories out there, and they got to do it.
Well, times like this, when I hear about companies requiring other companies to disclose the odds of this sort of thing, I'm reminded of that classic Han Solo quote from Star Wars.
Just one more pull.
My son, when you stabbed me in the gut, now I'm gonna fall down into this pit, and then the planet's gonna blow up. Oh, I wish I hadn't bought all those loot boxes. Chewie Avenger.
Yeah.
Remember that?
He had a long time to talk on the way down.
I know kind of the gag on this show is that my impressions are never very good. But I think that's a pretty good Harrison Ford.
No.
Granted, it sounded a little more like young Harrison Ford, and I was kind of going for like an old Harrison Ford thing. But I think it's pretty good. I think it works. I think it sells the character.
It certainly, yeah, it works.
Oh, who's this young girl flying the Millennium Falcon with me now? We're gonna go to this planet with the cantina, but it's a different cantina. Oh no, there's weird little aliens. You know?
Yeah.
I do like what, alien lady's got the bug eyes. Oh,
I do like what Fortnite and now Rocket League are doing. I don't think Rocket League has done it yet, but changing it so that you can see the contents of whatever the box is that you're going to buy before you buy it.
I like that a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Rocket League just axing them all together?
Getting rid of them all together, aren't they?
You're right.
I am right. Yes.
Rocket League is getting rid of them all together. You're right.
Yes.
And Fortnite has the system where you can see what you're buying before you buy.
So I'm interested to see with the whole, like, you see what's in them before you buy them. So does that mean that you have the chance to buy that and then you back out of the screen, that's gone, and the next time you go in, it's changed?
I don't know because I haven't played Fortnite in a while.
I mean, there has to be a way to obviously, move it forward. But
yeah. Well, Fortnite and a lot of other free-to-play games have like daily specials where they will show you, like Realm Royale does this, and I think Dauntless does this as well, where they have like a daily deal on a specific skin pack or whatever it is, and it has like a countdown, and you can choose to buy exactly that pack for that.
Okay.
So I
have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I have no problem with that either. So the other thing I wanted to bring up was the PS Classic. That thing cratered in price so bad.
Well, yeah, it was like what happened up here.
Well, you know why?
Why?
No Splatterhouse.
Because it's not very.
No
yeah,
it wasn't very good. No
Splatterhouse.
Crash Bandicoot either, and no Spyro. And
who cares about Spyro?
Spyro was good.
Spyro's good.
Yep.
Yeah, but it just, it frustrates me to see. PlayStation Classic I think it could have been a great piece of hardware. I mean, obviously the reviews are coming out on the Genesis Mini, and those have been glowing. And I think Sony it seems like they were really, really out for a money grab instead of for.
Isn't it actually a great piece of hardware? Like, now that people have hacked it, it actually is good hardware.
It's good hardware that they put a bunch of bad
crap on
of the games. Like, I still don't understand what was behind the decision to put the PAL versions of like half the games on there.
Well, it's funny because you look at in that PAL version, but you look at the TurboGrafx 16 Mini or the PC Engine Mini.
Yeah.
And I think that I mentioned this on Back in My Play actually last week, where I think it's really interesting to see the tack that they're taking, because the PC Engine was super popular in Japan, but it
Yep.
wasn't really in the other two major regions, right? North America or Europe.
Mhm.
So I think that sort of frees them up to not focus on like a North American centric lineup
Mhm.
or a European centric lineup, and they can say like, here's just all kinds of different regional versions of the games, just a bunch of games.
Well, and
Mhm.
the other
And
thing
it
is that
almost
all of the popular PC Engine games, the rights to those are owned by Konami, who owns Hudson.
Right.
And
But then I think with like the PlayStation, they kind of decided to take a similar tack with it, which doesn't make any sense to me, considering how popular that system was in every region.
Mhm.
yeah.
It was just
So
weird.
you're saying they should have had a region specific
Yeah.
version, like region specific versions of all of the
Absolutely. It was so popular in every region that there's no reason why you couldn't have had a North American specific PlayStation Mini.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
You would have been able to fill it up easily, and you wouldn't have to worry about all the PAL versions of things, and on same with other regions. That's just my opinion, but
games. I agree. Still kind of weird to see it for $20, or I think
that's what I got mine for.
I saw a deal poster where it was 15, and it's just like, oh god,
Man.
Everyone's sick of it being on their shelves.
yeah.
Yeah, really. Got to make way for all those genocide.
Do you think I don't think those will stay on shelves very long. I mean, I don't think they'll make the mistake
Genesis?
that Sony will and overproduce them. I think Sony overproduced them.
Well, I think Sony probably overproduced them because, by all rights, that thing should have sold like crazy.
I agree.
Yeah.
It should
I
have
mean,
been.
it's one of the most popular systems in history. Yeah.
But they had the wrong game lineup, and
yeah.
the quality wasn't there.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Genesis will fly off shelves. I think people definitely have nostalgia for it. It's not going to be at the level of a Super Nintendo or NES.
No,
I don't think.
I think
It should be, but it won't be.
I mean, I think the Super Nintendo Mini proved that there is potential for a large nostalgia, 16-bit nostalgia base there. System.
Yeah,
If
but
it's
you think
good,
about the
was
internet now, and if it's Super Nintendo, it's huge, and if it's Genesis, nobody cares.
I mean, was that a 16-bit nostalgia fest, or was that a Nintendo,
Nintendo.
well,
nostalgia
okay,
fest?
You're right.
That's my
Yeah.
thought on it.
You're right.
As much as that hurts me to say.
Yeah. Well, I think we should dive right into what you've been playing
Nope.
right now. And I'm going to kick it off. Woohoo! So, as I mentioned, I've been playing Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Okay, I have a
Starbucks
question about
mug.
this. What's that?
I see that.
You like that Star Fox mug?
Yeah.
That's like one of the.
That's
I
Star
had.
Fox
I got.
or Starbucks.
It's Star Fox.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Let me
Star
click
Fox
on
coffee.
it so that people can.
It's not
Yeah.
Starbucks.
It's Star
You see.
Fox.
Yeah.
I like
This is one of
Fox.
the few things I had Loot Crate for like a couple months,
Oh, really?
and this was in the very first one. This was
Oh.
actually.
Oh,
This was in the first one, and that was the thing that's like, I'm gonna get a 3-month subscription or something like that, and then everyone after that sucked. So,
Yeah.
oops.
but I
Yeah,
love
you
that
don't
mug.
have to worry about them anymore.
Well, they're going through like chapter 11, right?
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
That market has finally collapsed.
I'm
Yeah,
just
with that-
waiting for the Funko Pop
Lasted longer
market
than I thought.
to blow up. Yeah.
Oh my God, what will
You-
EB do then?
I know.
Anyway, no. So I have a question about this. So you've talked about
Yeah.
this before, that Builders 2 is kind of episodic.
It is, yes.
How long is an episode?
About like 15 hours
15 hours an episode.
an episode. Yeah. This is
Okay,
a
never
long
mind then.
game. This is a pretty long game.
I wanted you to say like 4 hours,
Hmm.
and then I would
No,
consider it.
no,
but-
not 4 hours. No.
Okay.
I mean, the way that they do things, they mix it up quite a bit. Like, you have some gameplay before you get to the first real chapter of the game, and then there's sort of interstitial chapters that are in between the islands where most of the like main plot points happen.
Okay.
So it's not really like doing the same thing for 15 hours. It varies things up quite a bit. And I got to the second island, and the first island is really focused on farming. And you are like making this wasteland of an island green by planting things and changing the soil. And then you get to the second island, and they want to revitalize it by building up a bar and defeating this Medusa enemy. And so you're in the mines underneath the island quite a bit. And in fact, later on in that chapter, there's like a whole huge dungeon underneath the island that you have no idea is there at first, and you
Neato.
stumble upon it. And they have some light puzzle solving in there as well, like block, like puzzles in games where you have to push a block over like a certain button that'll activate something. So there are a lot of those types of puzzles in that dungeon where you'll like pull a lever and the block will tilt either left, right, or up or down. You have to like put something in the way so that it stops at a certain point and goes over the button that allows you to solve the puzzle.
Mm.
So there's a lot of that stuff. But I'm playing it with my daughter, and we both unlocked the multiplayer in Dragon Quest Builders 2 this past week. And to do that, you have to finish the first chapter. So you have to go through the first 15 hours of the game to
Oh my
unlock
god.
multiplayer. I know.
That's weird.
It is so weird, but I haven't told you the kickers. So you have to play 15 hours to unlock it. It's only multiplayer on the Island of Awakening hub world, so you can't actually progress the story or like go to any of the narrative points multiplayer. You can only play like one area of the game. Then if you are the second player that comes into the host's game, you come in with nothing, no items, no clothes, nothing. So you're basically starting from scratch in the host's environment. And then each player, my daughter and I have separate switches, so we're able to see whatever. Each player sees different enemies as well. So like I was being attacked by enemies that my daughter could not see on her screen, so she couldn't help me out. And because I was brought in with nothing, I had no weapons. So,
Suck it up, Dad.
in Dragon Quest Builders 2, you have this like secondary player that does a lot of fighting for you, Malroth, and only the host has Malroth. So I didn't even get any help beating enemies, unfortunately. So we didn't play a whole lot of multiplayer after that, because really it seems like they added it for people who are like seriously advanced builders and like to make like huge picturesque builds to post online, which there is a whole community of people, and there's a way to do that in the game as well. But not for casual online play, unfortunately. But I am still having a lot of fun with it. I'm in between the second and third islands, and actually like the story bit in between has gotten pretty interesting. I won't spoil it, but each island you go to, you start over from scratch, and you sail from one island to the next. And when I was sailing from one island to the next, the boat crashed into another boat. And they captured me, and now I'm in a jail. Anyway, it's a pretty cool game. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think, gosh, I'm like 25 hours in at this point, maybe more than that, since I've finished the first two islands. But Phil, I know you played a little bit of the first one. Are you interested in all in two?
I'm sure it's fine.
See, they added a lot of fun quality of life things to this sequel. In the first game, you may remember when enemies attacked your base, they could destroy rooms as part of the attack. I don't know if you remember that at all. But anyway, in this game, if enemy monsters attack your village and they end up destroying some of the rooms, the townspeople will help you repair. They'll basically auto-repair the map for you, so that it goes back to normal, which is great.
Oh, that's cool.
It's great for players like my daughter who doesn't like to fight enemies at all.
No.
And lets the CPU controlled characters fight them all. And
That's a great point.
Sometimes they destroy her buildings, and then the computer rebuilds.
That's a really great point. That's fantastic.
It
That
is.
makes it much more accessible. So
Yes,
good for them.
and you can do these rather huge builds. One of them that came up recently, it was like a 5,000 block build
Mm-hmm.
for me to do, and you put down the blueprint, and you have all these inhabitants of your island. You can basically have them help you make it, and they will make the different. They'll make the structure in 3 parts or whatever, so you don't have to like lay down every individual block yourself, which is kind of nice. Also, weapons don't break in this one. That was in the first one. Your weapons could break.
Oh yes, you were saying that last week.
Not,
yeah.
not in this one.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Yeah, weapons
anyway.
not breaking is a smart thing to have in most games.
It
Yeah.
is.
I'm a fan of
True.
not having that in games.
Yeah.
In addition, I've been playing Friday the 13th, the game for the Nintendo Switch. Came out last week.
And you're excited that they're going to be showing off footage of the new Predator game this week from
I am
Gamescom?
so excited.
Yeah, I
Yes.
knew you would be.
Yeah, yes. I was very excited when that got announced, and they're going to show it off this week, so I'll be watching with great interest. That's by developer Ilphonic, who worked on Friday the 13th. But I've been playing a lot of the Switch version now that it's out. You know, lobbies are filled 100% of the time, pretty much.
Oh, good.
Voice chat works well. I'm just using my iPhone headset, and I assume a lot of people are as well. Works great. The weird thing is, so on the Switch, you may know that the A and B buttons, the location is
Are in the wrong
changed,
place.
and also the functionality. So A is usually
Hmm.
confirm, B is cancel. Right?
Okay.
I think I said that right. But they're in a different place than like on the Xbox. The A button is on the bottom, B is on the right side. So in Friday the 13th, the functionality is correct in the menus. So A is confirm in the menus and B is cancel. But then when you get in game, suddenly A is cancel and B is confirm. It's very confusing. I really hope that they put out a patch to at least let you toggle that. Would be nice. Also,
It's weird that you wouldn't have a toggle automatically. That's
it is.
I don't
yeah.
know. That feels like something that a game should ship with.
And
be able to map those
having
things.
worked on several games that are like PlayStation PC games that came to Switch, I know yes, you have to put an option in there, because when you're a PlayStation gamer and then you come to the Switch, the buttons are in the correct place, but then if you're a primarily Switch gamer, it's in the wrong place, and it's
Right.
very
Huh.
It's in your best interest to be able to do that.
Absolutely, which you can't reassign any of the buttons in Friday the 13th. It's just fixed. But the other thing is that it doesn't record clips with the screen grab button. So you can record, you can grab single frames, but it doesn't record. It doesn't support clip recording. Which
I'll be honest, I
sucks.
didn't even remember you could record clips with
I
the.
do that all the time. I do that all the time. Because then
Really?
you can record clips, and you can also, like, when you're selecting screens to post online, which I do quite often, you can select them out of the video clip as well, which is nice. Nice little thing. But Friday the 13th is pretty fantastic on Switch. It's the graphics of it are of course very jaggy. It's an Unreal Engine game that is on the Switch, so it looks a little janky if you're used to the smoothness of the PlayStation 4 or Xbox or PC version. But for a Switch port, it runs really nicely. Load time is great, and games load up quick, and it uses the dedicated servers that came to the other consoles and PC last year. So it's great fun, and I suggest that people check it out. Because the asymmetrical multiplayer is just a setup that I really enjoy. The 1 versus 7, because playing as Jason, you get to have fun killing counselors, and as a counselor, you get to have fun juking Jason around the campsite.
It is a good time. I gotta say, it's not really my cup of tea, but I did play it back when it first came out. Because you were playing, and we had a bunch of listeners who were playing as well, and I did have a good time with it.
Some of the most fun I've had online, and some of the most ridiculous, jukes online. Yeah, it's great. Anyway, I've also been playing Surprise Sea of Thieves. I'm going to talk about this for a second. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Go.
everybody's favorite pirating game. No, they have a new monthly event that opened up last week. It's called Dark Relics, and as part of it, they introduced a new type of cursed chest into the world. So, the game loop of Sea of Thieves, you go out, find treasure, bring it back to an outpost, and cash it in. This one, the new chest is called a Reaper chest, and when you get into the world, you see a beam of light coming down from where it's located on the map.
So everyone
So
goes and fights over that.
Everyone can see it, right? And you can see it on the in-game map as well. Like if you go over to the map table, you can see where it is on the map, so you can tell if it's close or far. And of course, yeah, at least in this first week, everybody is going over to where those Reaper chests are and fighting over them. And it has been awesome because there's been a lot of just really fun PvP happening in the adventure mode of the game, which had kind of gone away a little bit since they introduced a dedicated mode for PvP into the game. So the other major change, at least in terms of gameplay, is they added explosive barrels into the supply barrels that you come across just in the ocean while sailing. So that means you really have to watch where you're going, because if you run over them, like you can sometimes, you might run over an explosive barrel and blow yourself up. Or if you are being chased by another ship, you can try to steer that ship to run over barrels, and hopefully there will be an explosive barrel in them, and blow them up instead. And that definitely happened to me and my crew this past week. Yeah. I know you both love. I can see it in your faces. I can see it in your faces that you love it when I talk about Sea of Thieves.
This is my be polite, he's almost done face.
But this is the thing. I mean, this is a game that I've played for a year and a half, and I just really appreciate all that the devs have done to improve this game and change this game. And now they're at a cadence of every month they're going to put out a new content drop like this. And this is
When
the
did they
one
add loot
for
boxes?
August. They are not
Ooh.
adding loot boxes. They are going to have a store in next month's update. They're going to be selling pets.
Oh,
So
it
you can
begins.
There you
My
go.
God, they're finally selling pets. Didn't they promise that a year ago?
A year ago, yeah. Well,
Oh.
yeah,
Wow.
like the week before Sea of Thieves launched, they said the first update coming in the summer would include pets. They're finally launching it next month. And they're also going to start selling premium cosmetics. So you'll not loot boxes, but you will be able to buy like premium cosmetics for your character and your ship through this little pirate store. So I'm sure I'll be buying a lot
Like
of that
Avon
stuff.
and Maybelline and
Mary Kay. Yeah.
maybe CJ's born with it.
The other game that I've been playing is one that you guys have been playing as well. And maybe I'll turn it over to Greg here. You want to talk about PictoQuest?
PictoQuest. Yeah. How far have you gotten?
I'm like 35, 40% through.
Oh, that's around where I am.
I'm not terribly far.
Yeah.
I played a few levels.
I'll tell you, it's interesting to have a Picross game where the rules are a little bit different than what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're so used to playing the Picross S games at this point.
Yes.
But it's funny too because we've played so many of those. At least I know Phil, you and I have.
Yes.
That it's just like slipping on a comfortable pair of shoes every time a new one comes out. You know exactly how it's going to play. You know exactly how it's going to feel. Uh-oh, your door's opening.
Uh-oh.
Oh, geez.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, oh.
There we go.
Usually if it's the little guy, he's already in here.
That's true.
It's-
Oh.
very
Anyway,
true. Nothing happened.
and you definitely, because this isn't made by the same developer, you can feel it. You can feel a difference.
You can.
Even just in the reaction time of when you put an X on the grid or something,
Right.
it feels a little bit different. Not that that's a bad thing. I definitely like. So this is Picross, but it's an RPG, and basically every battle is fought playing a Picross puzzle.
Yes.
So when you're actually fighting enemies, sometimes it's just open chess as well. But when you're actually fighting enemies, it's timed, and they're usually have multiple groups of them, and they each have an attack bar. And if you take too long
Mhm.
to hit them, basically to complete a row or a column is how you hit them, then they'll attack you. And you right now, I still only have 3 hearts, so they have a good chance of hitting you for at least a half heart of damage. So at first it's super easy, especially if you play a lot of Picross.
Yeah.
But I'm now into like the 15 by 15 grids,
Yep.
so it's not really simple to finish a column or row really fast.
Mhm.
And I'm starting to enjoy it more, because I got to say I was a little bit lukewarm on the whole thing for the
Yeah.
first probably 20% of the
Because it
game.
was
There's
so
a little
easy, really.
It
was
is
like
so
a
easy.
cakewalk at first.
And there's like a little percentage marker in the screen, so you know kind of how far you are in the quest.
Yeah.
I was really lukewarm on it, because it's like, well, this is a really cute idea, but I'm not getting nearly as much out of this as I would out of a Picross S game, or even from Lord of the Nazarick or whatever that's called.
Right.
But now that I'm into the bigger grids, I am enjoying it more, because it's taking longer to even fill out a row or column. I'm actually having to take a bit of time, or I feel like I am anyway, taking a bit of time to manage the enemies, because
yeah.
if you have a
And
group
also
of like,
using the power ups too.
I haven't used
uh,
power ups yet, actually.
No, you haven't had to.
No,
Okay.
but like if you have
finally
a
got to the point where I had to use power ups.
Oh, okay. If you have a group of enemies, usually it's up to a group of 3, and the enemy that's out front is the enemy that you're going to hit. And like I said, if you complete a row or column, you hit that enemy and you cancel their attack bar. It's
Hmm.
like a real time, or whatever. What's it called in Final Fantasy?
Active time battle.
Active time battle.
Yeah.
They have like an active time battle bar.
Huh.
So by tapping the LRR buttons, you rotate a new monster into focus.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, I'm about to finish this row or column, and that monster is about to attack. So I'll rotate him into focus. I'll finish the row or column, attack him, and now he's neutralized. And so, now that it's getting to that point, and also timers starting to be more of a thing, I'm really starting to enjoy it a lot more.
Nice.
And it's super cheap.
It was $10.
Yeah. So,
and it's super cute too.
It is really cute.
My daughter has not. I've not yet introduced her to the Picross games, but she's been watching me play PictoQuest, and I don't think it's quite clicked with her.
No, my kids are the same way. They see me play a lot of Picross. They don't totally get it, or I should say, the older 2 are starting to get it now. They don't care.
Right.
This is not clicked with them. Like, they're just like, why would you waste your time on that?
My daughter just likes watching me fill in the puzzle and then watching whatever it is animate.
Yeah,
she's into it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it, and it's again, because it's Picross. It's the same reason I play the S games, and now Lord of Nazarick is like, I'll do a puzzle in the morning before I go to work, or I'll do a puzzle, when I'm sitting down after dinner, or maybe just before I go to bed. And this fits into that too, because there's no weird like save threshold or anything. You complete a puzzle, it saves.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have, I got 2 Picross games on the go for the first time ever. So yeah, enjoying that. Something dinged. Is that on my computer?
That wasn't me.
But
you guys have nothing else to add to that, or
no?
No.
I'm enjoying it. I think what you said, plus there are I haven't had to go back. I haven't had to backtrack at all.
And I also haven't bought anything at the store in forever, because
I have recently.
I don't use power-ups yet.
Just recently I did, because I was against a boss character that was particularly challenging.
Okay.
But
I didn't know they had challenging bosses in this game.
Loser. Maybe you haven't gotten to this point yet. You probably have. You're probably just better at Picross than I am.
I
don't
would say
have
that's
the
exactly
experience
what it is. Yeah.
That you do.
Yeah.
Probably what
so the other game that I played through that I did not expect to play this year at all, and actually one of the top selling games of the year, I think the NPD chart just came out, was Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh.
which CJ's best friend Mike's mutual friend.
This is getting really convoluted.
I know. I love my friend Jim. He's a big Mortal Kombat fan, and he had bought the game. And I went over to his place there the other day, and he just handed it to me. He's like, "You just play the story mode," because he handed it to me. I'm like, "I don't play these games anymore. Seriously, Mortal Kombat left me behind at Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't interested. I was super into the first two, but my fighting game, I got more into like the Street Fighter alphas and then the Virtua Fighter games, and then like Soul Calibur. That's kind of where my fighting game route went. So I left Mortal Kombat behind. I haven't really touched them in years. And he's just like, "This is really good. I know you don't like it, but just like put it on easy and play through story mode, because story mode's like 5 hours long."
Yeah.
And it's so satisfying. I would never recommend anyone who's not like gonna play a ton of verses buy this for full price. But man, if you can get it for like $20 just to play through the 5-hour story mode, it's fun. It's like, the best way to describe it is it's like the Expendables of video games,
Sure.
where it's just stupid, of its time action and
Yeah.
gore. Doesn't make any sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's a big time traveling caper, starring multiple future and past versions of Mortal Kombat characters, some of whom I recognize and some of whom I don't.
Right.
But like crazy things that, like I said, don't make any sense. Like when you're into the cinematics, which are really well done, the cinematics and the music is really well done in this game. Like the production value in this game is through the roof. But like, you'll have a character, I don't remember his name. I think he's a demigod, and like you could kill him and he just comes back to life. So like when Liu Kang and Kung Lao are the two who meet him for the first time, and she's like, "I can't be killed." And then of course Kung Lao throws his razor hat at him and beheads him.
Okay.
And now he's dead. And then later on, I think Sonya at one point blows him up. And he always reforms. So he's just a really tough guy, right? But then you get into the fight and you've got him down in 2 rounds and he's done for. You can't, so it doesn't make any sense at all. But it doesn't have to, because it's Mortal Kombat.
Right.
And it's just a ton of fun.
Those
Yeah.
fighting games, even back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, and it's always fun to see the fatalities and the I forget what they're called, death something or other, but there's special moves you get now where they just do a series of, it's very stabby. The whole thing's very stabby. Where like, if you're a Scorpion, he'll pull you in with his chain, and then when you get to him, he'll drive the chain through you, and then he'll throw you in the air, and he'll make you land on the point with the face, and then he'll throw you to the ground, and he'll stab you again in the back, and then you get up and keep fighting. So,
you know what? It makes a lot of the hearings about video game violence from the 90s seem tame.
Oh, so tame.
So tame. Of that stuff, like the X-ray shots they have of like pulling somebody's heart out, or nutsack punch, or etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of groin hit humor in that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really big into it for some reason. So
I mean, that was one of Johnny Cage's moves back in the day.
True.
So
yeah. But anyway, it's really, really well done. I mean, it's a really well made game anyway. But even for those of us who aren't into versus or anything like that, again, I wouldn't pay full price for it, because if all you want to do is go through the story mode, it's about 5 hours.
Okay.
But if you can get it cheaper, you have someone who will lend it to you. You can go through it in like a day or a day and a half, and it's worth experiencing. It's a lot of fun.
Is any of the, because they're putting some of those like guest characters.
Yeah, well, Shang Tsung just came out, and he's actually he's modeled off of the actor who played Shang Tsung in the first Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, did the actor do the mocap for that?
I think so.
Too?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I believe Ash is supposed to be in there, right?
That's
Bruce
I don't
Campbell?
know if that's, somebody mentioned to me that was going to happen, but the way they said it, it was either that's a rumor.
Okay.
It seems like it's happening, but I don't know if it's official or not.
Like
I think
a while
it's like
ago,
a really well known secret or something.
Like Bruce Campbell actually hinted at it on his Twitter account some time ago. Yeah.
It seems like a foregone. Like when this person said that to me, I'm like, oh, is that happening? It's like, well, everyone's waiting for it to happen. We all know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. Yeah.
It's cool.
But yeah, so play through that. So otherwise, What I've been playing this week? I got a bunch of toys this week.
I
Yeah?
saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Gross.
So I guess I'll go through a few of them because I know there's some people who are really interested to hear what they were. So the first thing was I resurrected my N64 a few weeks ago because a generous listener sent me a copy of Beetle Adventure Racing,
Oh.
which I streamed on Twitch about a month ago now.
Mhm.
And of course, N64, solid as a rock, still works fine. I had some issues with the jump pack not connecting properly. That's why it wasn't working at first. And I still have my launch day controller, which I think I mentioned back then still works okay, but it also doesn't have 1 minute of Mario Party on it. So it hasn't fallen apart yet. But what I ended up getting, because now I have people actually requesting that I play more N64 games on my Twitch stream, is a Retro Fighter N64 controller. I think
Oh.
it's a
Yeah.
Brawler 64, maybe?
Okay.
I think you're right. Brawler 64.
Brawler 64. So really dig this. It supports the Rumble Pack. It supports memory packs. And it's shaped very similar to like an Xbox controller, basically.
Yeah.
Which I love for sure. The D-pad's in the right place. The analog stick's in the right place. The analog stick has a nice rubber cap on it,
Uh-huh.
so it doesn't rip your thumb up while you're playing. And they doubled up the Z buttons. The Z buttons are the two triggers. So it has the two shoulder buttons, L and R, and the Z buttons are left and right both are just the Z button, which makes it feel much more comfortable. It's nice to have a new controller for my N64. The cable on it's like 12 feet long.
Oh.
It's got a really long cable on it, which is nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, especially in a world where a lot of us do sit a lot further away from our TV now because we don't have to worry about cables anymore.
Right.
If you're going to use this thing, you've got quite a lot of slack, which is cool. One thing that I found... Oh, sorry.
How's the mouthfeel on it?
The mouthfeel is, well... hang on a sec. So...
There you go. Yeah, give it a go. There you go. Yeah.
Bring it to Seattle with you and feel
Oh,
and try
man.
it yourself.
Oh, jeez.
It doesn't taste like a Switch cartridge. So that's good.
That's okay. Boy, that was. Whew. I got to cool down after watching that.
Anyway, one of the oddities about it, and it took me a while to figure this out, is that because I'd forgotten. So the N64 controller, of course, was the 3-pronged controller.
Yes.
And the Z button it had L and R shoulder buttons, but then it had the Z button on the center prong, right down the shaft. And so when you were playing a game that needed the analog stick, that Z button oftentimes stood in for an L shoulder button.
Sure did.
So because of that, and because the fact that the Z button is actually on both sides as a trigger on this controller, it's you kind of have to wrap your head around, like, a lot of times a game will have a function on the R button, and then its opposite function in any other controller would be on the L button. But because of the configuration of the old N64 controller, it's actually on the Z button. So you're like tapping the front trigger or the front shoulder button on one side and the back trigger on the other side, unless you, of course, redefine them in the games. But it took a little getting used to, but it's nice to have that. I also learned that I'd completely forgotten that Mario Kart 64 mapped background music audio or volume to the L button on the controller.
Weird.
I kept pressing it by mistake. See, everyone's like, what? Because of course, in that game, you want to use your shoulder buttons. And of course, I've been trained for 20 years now to hit the L button and not the L trigger.
Yeah.
So I kept hitting the L button and my music would turn off. What the hell's going on? But that's why. And I went and looked at the manual, the full color manual.
No.
It's background music is mapped to the L button. It's if you tap it once, it goes to 0. If you tap it again, it goes to 50%. And if you tap it again, it goes to full volume.
Wow. Did you know that in Duck Hunt for the NES, the second controller can be used to control the ducks?
That was totally that moment for me on Twitter this week, because everybody went nuts over that. And it's like, but that's in the manual.
That's hilarious.
So to go along with that, the other thing that I ended up getting, and I actually ended up getting both these things. So I don't know if you guys have heard this. So the Eon GCHT HD, which comes in a great little GameCube style box.
Oh, nice.
So this
Okay.
is an HD adapter for an HDMI adapter for your GameCube,
Okay.
and they just recently released what's called a Super 64, which is an HDMI
What system's that for?
for the game
The
or for the Dreamcast.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this is an HDMI adapter for your N64.
Okay.
So I've been meaning to pick up a GCHD for quite a while. This was announced as well, and Castlemania Game Store was offering both of them at a discounted price. So I grabbed this Super 64. So it just
Okay.
plugs right into the AV adapter on the back, and then you get an HDMI port out the back
Oh,
of that.
sweet. Okay.
And it also has a smoothing feature, which is exactly what you think it is.
Right.
So if you click the little button on the side, it smooths the graphics out, which nobody in the right
Now,
mind would ever want to
does-
use.
Yo,
but
dog, I
On the-
heard
on
you
the
like
64 though,
anti-aliasing.
On the
Yeah.
64, does that make it look better? How
actually, on the
does it look?
64, it's not as irritating because the 64 doesn't look all that good to begin with.
Exactly. Well,
However,
on an HD, on a 4K TV, the N64 does not look great.
it's there. And the thing to remember with this, I think this is like $150
Okay.
if you want to buy it by itself. All it's doing, and this is disappointing, all it's doing is taking the S-video signal and converting it to run through HDMI. It's not
Oh,
giving you a better signal at all. It's literally, it's the best signal you can get on a system that hasn't been modded,
Okay.
which makes this a little pricey for what it's doing.
Mhm.
So that's a little disappointing. But I mean, for convenience sake, I don't even know if my TV has an S-video jack. And if it does, because it's mounted to the wall, I can't find it. I don't know where it
mine
is.
Definitely does not.
So for convenience sake, this is not bad. It's a little pricey for what it is. That's the only reason I would suggest it. Now, I have a FrameMeister that does take an S-video, so I really didn't need this. But, I got it at a bit of a discount. But again, it's convenient, and that's kind of, if that's the reason you want it, then go for it. But otherwise, for the price that it is, it might be better to mod your system.
Really?
If you want to go RGB, if you have something that'll read a better signal.
Yeah.
But the GameCube HD adapter, the GCHD, this thing's pretty sweet. So this has been around for a while. This is the Mark II. So this plugs into the back of your GameCube. You have to have a GameCube that has the two ports on the back. It has to have the digital port on the back.
Okay.
If you don't, then this can't be used. So actually, Phil, this can't be used on your Cube. That was it's called the QU
The Panasonic Q?
Panasonic Cube. This won't work.
Just Q.
Just Q.
Yeah, the Cube. This won't work on it.
Just Q.
Just
The letter
Q.
Q.
The Q.
Letter
Okay.
Q.
It won't work.
Q.
It won't work on that.
So it uses the D terminal.
It uses the D
jack.
terminal and the
that's
AV
cool.
jack. You can
Okay.
see if you're watching the video. So this does two things. One, it's an HDMI out, but it also, this Mark II actually has a, I guess that's a D terminal out. You can use Wii component cables on this thing.
Oh. Very nice.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And actually, you can output signals from both of those at the same time. And it also has an AV port on it. So this thing actually is outputting a great signal. Again, it's a convenience thing because the best I could do with the GameCube I had otherwise was S-video. This is also, I think, about $150. The nice thing about this, if you happen to go on to eBay right now and look at the prices for official GameCube component cables.
Oh, they're crazy, right?
I'm looking at Canadian prices, $343, $280,
Yeah.
$250,
So buying one of
$293,
those is
$300.
much more
This is
affordable.
cheaper.
Yeah.
This is cheaper.
Yeah.
It has a couple of different options you can set up for it too, as far as like line doubling and how it handles scaling and that integer scaling and that sort of thing. That strangely enough, the only way you can access the on-screen menu is to use an IR remote control, any IR remote control that you own.
Really?
So like a remote for your TV, and you don't have to put it in pairing mode. You literally just put this thing into pairing mode, and then say, okay, now point a controller at it and press whatever button you want to be up.
Oh, right,
Oh.
right, right, right.
It's finicky. You have to be pretty much right on top of the thing for it to work. But once it does work, it's great. It's I'm really happy with this because it does, like I said, I've been playing GameCube S video so far. This makes it look that much better on my HD TV. So I'm super happy with that. I highly recommend that if you want to get your GameCube running nicely. I'm almost done. And I love the box it comes in because it looks like a little GameCube.
Yeah.
The two big things this week for me were I finally bit the bullet and bought a Mega SG, which is the FPGA.
It's the analog.
FPG. It's the analog
system.
Mega
Drive
SG.
Genesis. Yeah.
So this is not an emulator box. It's an FPGA based Genesis from Analog that
Do
you can
know
actually.
What that means?
Yeah, it's the type of chip. It's not an emulator. It's a chip
not an
that
emulator.
actually
Yeah.
apes the actual hardware.
That's right.
Also has a connector, an edge connector for Sega CD. This is the one that you can actually plug into Sega CD hardware.
Nice.
Model 1 or Model 2. Which I have not tried on this thing because I don't think I will. The thing that killed me about this, it's tiny. I keep holding it up here for anyone who's on. It's tiny. It's heavy as hell.
Oh, really?
For the size of it. It feels I've never ever used another Analog product. It feels very high quality the second you open it up. And it's great. I mean, I really dig it. It's a high-res Genesis. And it looks and sounds the way it should. Comes with a Master System cartridge adapter.
Ooh, nice.
As well, which is nice.
Call that the power-based converter.
Yes. I don't think this does FM sound though. But when mixed with the other toy I got this week, the Mega SD, which is a Sega CD FPGA in a cartridge, is basically plug this thing in, and now I can play Sega CD games right off a cartridge.
That's cool. That is super cool.
Also supports 32X, also supports Sega Master System with FM sound if you want it. This works on any Sega Genesis hardware. I'm super happy with this. It's literally reading ROMs right off, like any of those ROMs right off this thing. So now basically with these two things, like I've got a fully working Sega CD, and I don't have to worry about optical drives breaking down.
Nice.
Now,
it's
is there
fantastic.
a boot up screen on that? Like, can you see the super cool Sega CD boot up screen? Or do you
yes. When you when you fire up any Sega CD image, it goes to that boot up screen, the boot up screen that we know first
and love
first. Although one thing that I have to point out for anyone who is interested in this thing, it's not like this magical everything works on any console solution. If you plug it into one of the different types of Genesis hardware that doesn't support Sega CD or Master System, it won't support them. They won't even show up. Like, for example, I know this is going to sound weird. I have my Laser Active plugged in because I've been testing some stuff on it lately. So I plugged this into the Laser Active, and because of the way that they have it listed here somewhere, it's something about the way the bus is set up. If you plug it into a system that's connected to Sega CD hardware already, this won't work. It'll still play Genesis or 32X games if you have a 32X plugged in, and it will still play Master System games, so it won't play Sega CD games because you already have that hardware hooked up.
Right. Okay.
So when you have like a hybrid system like that, or an XI or a CDX, you won't be able to play images from this disc or from this cartridge. Likewise, the Nomad can't play CD audio without a mod.
Oh, really?
Also can't play Master System without some kind of mod because that hardware is just not in there. Right. So this isn't like all of a sudden, I plug this into my Nomad and now I have a Master System and a Sega CD and a 32X. None of that.
Right. Okay.
But if you get the mod done, that'll work that way. Same with like the Genesis 3 because they took a lot of that hardware out as well. So, but for what it is and what I want it to be, it's fantastic because I've said so many times before, I have all this optical hardware that's falling apart
Mm-hmm.
that I don't want to spend. This was expensive, don't get me wrong, but it's cheaper than me even sending 2 of those things away because the closest I can send anything to get it repaired really is Toronto. So
Yeah.
it's cheaper than me sending them away, getting them fixed, and having them sent back. So I'm super happy with this. Like I feel like I've basically consolidated pretty much everything in that case back there into
one piece of
like
hardware.
this little unit. And
Yeah.
this doesn't support 32X yet, but they've said they'll probably be doing that sometime in the future. So,
Yeah.
and even if it doesn't, okay, that's a small part of the library that's not supported. But either way, I'm super happy with these purchases. Took a while to get it set up the way I wanted it, but now that it's there, so happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I hope that was good enough. People have been asking me to do like quick impressions of these on the show this week. But if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to ping me on Twitter or ask during one of my streams or something.
Cool.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Phil,
Nice.
you're up.
What have I been playing this week? Played a little PictoQuest.
Yeah.
And kind of bounced off it pretty quickly. For
I was the same way. At
yeah.
first.
Although now hearing Greg kind of talk more about it, maybe I need to go back.
I think you should
Yeah.
get into like 35 to 40%. If
Okay.
you haven't sort of, and it doesn't take that long to get there.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
If you haven't sort of started to dig it by then, you're not going to.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, I bounced off it straight back into Picross Lord of the Nazarick, which I'm still working my way through. So I'm just playing that some more.
same here. I'm those puzzles now. I find in that game, it's the opposite. It ramps up fast.
Yeah.
Like you're doing like 20 by 20 or 20 by 15 grids pretty quickly.
Yeah, they usually in like the Picross S games, you're doing like 10 by 10s for a fair while
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
start getting into the 15 by 15s or like the 20 by 15s, that sort of thing. But man, those Jupiter developed Picross games are
Oh.
great.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that PictoQuest doesn't have going for it.
Well, that's just it. It's something about just the UI and the controls are just so. I mean, Jupiter's been doing Picross games since
They
Mario
perfected it.
Mario's Picross. Yeah. So any Picross game that is not by Jupiter feels a little off to begin
Yeah.
with, which
Yeah.
turns me off. But yeah, I should go back and. I mean, I bought the darn thing. I should go back and play a
Yeah.
little more of it.
Just chip away at it, right? Like
Yeah.
don't, I totally agree with what you're saying because when I first started it, like my whole thing is I kind of chipping away at Picross game in general. I'll do one, but they're
Right.
so simple. The other thing that I meant to mention with PictoQuest was that I really didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
You start getting the same puzzles really quickly.
Oh yeah.
Like they actually tell you that when you
is the ones that are the same are like a boss challenge, right? Where it's a timed challenge.
yeah, but I still don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, I'm coming at it from the standpoint of I've played every Picross S game
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
when it comes out to completion.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What else? Oh, I busted out the PlayStation VR the other night and finished up Trover.
cool.
Oh,
Trover
okay.
Saves the Universe, the Justin Roiland game. I had a lot of fun with that game. I
Heard
gotta
good
say,
things about it.
yeah, I mean, I've talked about it before on the show. It's very much a Rick and Morty game without the Rick and Morty license.
Yep.
It's got that type of humor. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It was a really funny game. So
Have you played your Penn and Teller VR game yet?
just a little bit.
I'm really interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so I can talk to a bit of experience with that so far. So that came out maybe a month or two ago digitally. And the physical version just came out. I was not aware that there was going to be a physical version.
Is that a full price game, by the way?
No, it's $20.
Oh wow, I got to go look for that then.
$20, and I believe. Let me double check here what the physical version was, but I think it was just I think it was just $20. Let me see here. Amazon.com. Yeah, it's $20 for the
Oh,
physical
okay.
version. So yeah, so I bought the physical version just because I am a Penn and Teller fan, so I wanted to have the physical version of that anyway. But I did get it digitally. It is set up. It is not a game as we typically define games. It's very much in the same vein as Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors,
Mhm.
which was of course the canceled Sega CD game.
Right.
But the ROM of that is out there, so people can play it. Where it's mainly just a series of mini games
Right.
that are designed to kind of mess with your
Screw with
friends.
you.
Yeah, yeah, and mainly not really to screw with you, but to screw with your friends.
Okay.
So it's like oh, I'm like there's one where I haven't tried this one out yet. I haven't messed around with this one, but there's one where you're supposed to be like put the headset on your friend, the sucker, and they're trying to like smash things in real, in the game. They're like slamming the table, trying to smash whatever it is, and you're supposed to place an egg. Like there's some way for you can determine where they're going to hit next, and you place an egg so when they smash down they're actually smashing a real egg, and they end up looking like a fool. So that it's pranks and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there's a couple other things as well where like they go through some of their routines. Like they'll do like the cup and balls, and it looks like you're up on stage with them, and you can actually kind of look around and watch them perform the moves and stuff like that. And
That's cool.
So is that done in like video or
no, it's all rendered. Now
okay?
I think it might have been motion captured.
Okay.
Penn's talked about it on his podcast before, so I think it might be them actually motion captured the moves.
Okay.
I might be making that up. That might be a false
Well, I
memory.
mean that would make perfect sense though if they're doing their routines. I mean,
Right.
they wouldn't want some actors doing that.
Or just some animators trying
Yeah.
to approximate their sleight of hand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a pretty funny mode in there where it is a Penn Jillette simulator, where it's like you get to inhabit Penn's body and sort of be him,
Yeah.
Okay.
and what that involves is just sitting quietly in a room reading Moby Dick, which is Penn's favorite book, and one of his pastimes when he's not working is he just likes to quietly sit and read. So you're just at a table looking at a Kindle, and
That's pretty great.
it's got the entire novel.
Oh, I might finally read Moby Dick.
Yeah, I mean you can actually sit and just swipe and read the entire novel of Moby. I think you might get an achievement.
Oh,
reading
you almost
the whole-
definitely would, I bet.
for reading the whole thing. But yeah, so there's just cute little things like that on there. There's one bit on there that I started playing. I after I finished Trover, I was like, oh, I got the VR out. I'll mess around a little more last night, and there's a window washing simulator where apparently the game is that you start to unravel the premise is you are a window washer, a high-rise window washer on the little basket attached to a building in Vegas. You're on like a hotel, and you can look around and you can see like the Luxor and stuff like that around you. But all the windows are soaked up, and it's nighttime. And in one hand you have your squeegee, the other hand you have a flashlight, and you have to start squeegeeing off the soap, and then you can shine your flashlight into the darkened hotel rooms.
That's creepy as hell.
It is creepy as hell. And as you notice some things that the game kind of highlights, like, oh, there's a odd looking vase with some flowers in it. And then you press a button and you rise up to the next floor, and you do it again, and you start noticing just strange things in these darkened hotel rooms that you're slowly revealing as you squeegee off the soap, and the music is starting to kind of build up and get kind of creepy sounding. And apparently, from what I've gathered, as you go up, you start kind of unraveling sort of a mystery that is being told just through
Neat.
these darkened rooms that you're peering into through wiped off soap with your flashlight. But to be honest, I started getting creeped out by it because I was just waiting for something very unpleasant to appear as I wipe off this window that's like 3 inches in front of my face. So I got scared and backed out. And I was like, I'll play that.
Sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With his USB drive.
Who
So,
watching his USB drive?
yes. But yeah, so it seems like kind of a neat thing, and for $20 as a fan, I'm like, yeah, I'll mess around with this.
By the way, if you have the VR out and you haven't done this before, I highly recommend picking up A Fisherman's Tale.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you'd love it. I don't want to tell you anything about it because it would give a whole bunch away, but
Okay.
totally worth checking out.
Is it a fishing game? TBD? Okay.
You'll just have to see.
A Fisherman's Tale.
Yep.
Okay, I will look into A Fisherman's Tale. What else have I been playing? Oh, you know what else I've been playing, oddly enough, is a bit of Super Mario Odyssey. Have you guys heard of this
that game before? Or?
I'll be right back.
That game. Oh, wow. Someone just doesn't care about Mario Odyssey, apparently. Well, see, it's a shame Greg went away because this is a I'm playing it with my kid kind of story. So yeah, I think he would appreciate it.
Are you playing a 2-player or are you
Well, I've just been sort of watching him because
Charlotte's been back to that game as well recently.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now he's never played it before.
Okay.
And I try not to push games on Finn. I don't want to do that thing where, oh, you got to sit down and watch Star Wars. Oh, you got to sit down and play Super Mario. Oh, you got to sit down and get into I'm not trying to like get him into all the stuff that I was into as I was a kid because,
let them be their own person.
Right? Yeah, I mean,
develop their own gaming taste, whatever they want.
My dad did not sit down and you really got to get into this Davy Crockett. You really
watch the Guns of Navarone. Come on.
Yeah. So
we're gonna watch Bonanza.
Yeah. So I've not been pushing my childhood favorites onto Finn, but just he happens to discover them on his own sometimes. So because
they're on your Switch system and he scrolls.
Well, he does. Well, he plays the Switch, and apparently, some of the kids at his summer camp like Mario, so they've talked about it, and so he got interested. And I mean, this is how he got into Smash Brothers. So he started playing Mario Odyssey, and he got really, really into it. He actually just finished it yesterday.
Oh, cool!
Like he went through, and I mean, he didn't
with the safe mode on or the friendly mode, or no?
No, he played it for real.
Okay. Great.
My kid's not a wuss, CJ.
Well, when my daughter plays, she doesn't know where to go, and she oftentimes will only look at the area that's on the screen right there and not like look around the environment. So she needs the arrows.
Well, Finn has a message for Charlotte, and that message is get good. Yeah, get good. Now he did. There were a couple bits where he had a little trouble, and he had me come in and make a difficult jump or.
Now, see, I try not to do. Like Charlotte will do that, like, hey, like, come, I need help.
No.
With some of the games that she plays, like Dragon Quest Builders 2 is another perfect example where it's like I'll read the text for her.
Right.
In Dragon Quest Builders 2, they use a lot of the everything's in an English accent, so that a lot of the
they're doing that
dialogue is typed out like
that typical. I mean, that's a Dragon Quest.
It's a Dragon Quest thing, yeah. Where they
and boy, it is so obnoxious.
God, and also Dragon Quest Builders 2 is so wordy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the Dragon Quest games are wordy, and they're all wordy, in that. Yeah. Oi, Gubna.
Oi, Gubna.
And exactly. You get that fake Renaissance fair talk
And
It's
for
just-
my daughter to be playing it, she's like, she doesn't.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Can't read it with the accent, so I end up reading it, which is
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, there are some challenges where she'll want me to do it, and it's like, well, if I do this one, the
Mhm.
game is just like building challenge upon challenge. Like I'll end up doing the whole rest of the game. So I let her do it. I give her like a hint.
You force
And-
her to.
That's how you raise them right.
Yeah.
She's also playing Dark Souls. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. See? Greg, I was telling
Get
CJ,
good, honey.
Finn
Good.
discovered Mario Odyssey,
Oh, cool.
and he's been getting in. And like I just told CJ, he actually finished it yesterday.
Oh,
Went
nice.
through
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
beat Bowser and everything.
But not 100%. He's
Hasn't
gotta go to the
100%,
dark side of
hasn't
the
gotten-
moon.
Hasn't gotten all the moons yet. He's going through. He's going back and seeing what more he can get. But yeah, so he got really into that game, and so I've been kind of playing it a little bit with him. I've not done the 2-player mode, but he actually got Dana playing the 2-player
yeah?
mode with him. Yeah, so he's been having a lot of fun playing through it with her.
It's one player controls Mario, one controls the hat.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
I didn't really like that too much when I tried it, but
Yeah.
my it's funny. My 7-year-old's been getting into Mario Odyssey as well.
And that's kind of set him off on a bit of a Mario path, because then he started digging around on the Switch some more and
So you made
found.
him play Donkey Kong.
I forced him to. I was like,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
play this one until you
Set a
start
high score if you want to move on.
here, and then you go to Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Then we can talk Super Mario.
If I don't see a kill screen, you're gonna stay on this game forever.
But no, he was digging through the Switch library and discovered the Super Mario Brothers, the NES version, and was kind of playing that one and getting into that.
Nice.
That's cool.
And I'm showing him all the secrets. Oh, look at the hidden blocks, and oh, look at this. You can, if you break this block, you can get up on top of the stage and run across the top. And whoa, what is this? Oh, there's a secret room that'll warp you to a new level. And this sort of thing is mind blowing to him because he has not experienced that sort of thing
Show him
before. in
Minus
game.
World. That'll totally blow his mind. Minus
Oh
World.
yeah, that's true. I should actually
Blow my mind.
do that. But yeah, so I've been having some fun playing some old Mario games with Finn.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
so that's been fun. But yeah, that's been about it for this week.
That's a lot of games though that we've
Well,
all been playing.
Yeah.
All right. Should I guess we have a little bit of time. We can do a tweet or two.
A tweet-a-dee-dee-dee, a tweet-a-dee-dee-dee, tweet, a tweet, a tweet.
All right, let's do this one from hacker alias Gord Cooper, who says, "We all grew up in the height of quote satanic panic."
Don't tell me when I grew up.
The height of satanic panic. Okay.
Oh yeah,
You don't
when
remember that?
maybe this wasn't a Canada thing.
If it was, it wasn't something I
This
experienced.
there was a good chunk of time in the 80s where panicked moms were convinced that kids playing Dungeons and Dragons
Oh, I knew about that.
Yeah,
was a gateway
and
to
heavy metal music.
devil and heavy metal music. And
Yeah,
I guess never really listening to heavy metal music or playing Dungeons and Dragons, I didn't get to experience that.
horror movies and
yeah,
all that
Faces of
stuff
Death.
was a way to the devil.
Yeah,
What was that?
Paradise Lost.
That's exactly it. No, what was that movie?
Oh, Mazes and Monsters.
Orson Welles. He had a sled. And
I think you're thinking about Point Break.
he was a newspaper.
Point
mag-
Break.
He was.
Yeah. A newspaper magnet.
Citizen
was-
Kane. Citizen Kane.
There it is. That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
But was that Kevin McDonald screaming "Citizen Kane! Citizen
He's on
Kane!"
a cameo, by the way. I should have had him do something.
That's a kid's. Take some Patreon money, CJ.
Have him
Go
just do that.
Go hire him to just yell Citizen Kane a few times so we can splice it into this episode.
Oh, no.
No, yeah, Mazes and Monsters, of course, as Greg mentioned, was the made-for-TV movie starring Tom Hanks. Back
Oh
before,
God, I think I killed somebody.
back before Tom Hanks
Was Mr.
was,
Rogers.
was famous. Yeah, he was starring in a movie about kids who started murdering people because they played a D&D.
I don't think he ever murdered anyone.
But
I think he just went crazy, which that was based on a true story.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't based on like a chick track. Those chick tracks. You know what I'm talking about there?
No, not at all.
You don't know what chick
I know what
tracks
you're
are?
talking about.
No.
Jack, I think it's Jack Chick was the guy's name.
Yes.
He was some like crazy religious nut. And he would write and draw these little comic books that he would
Oh, I have heard of those.
Yeah. And they're all like, you know, if you're gay, you're going to hell, and you know, if you steal, you're going to hell, and there was certainly one where there were some teenage girls playing D&D and they ended up murdering people and crap like that. So
so that movie was based on, I just looked it up real quick. So it was based on the disappearance of a student named James Dallas Egbert III
okay.
from Michigan State University in 79. And that actually fits into what you're saying, where early media accounts overemphasized his participation in fantasy role-playing games, speculating that it may have been a factor in his disappearance.
Yeah.
So they thought he went nuts.
Right.
Because he played too much D&D.
That's what'll happen to you, man.
Yeah. Happens.
So, but yes. What's the rest of this week?
We all grew up in the height of satanic panic. So what personal memories do you have of this era? My mom was fairly convinced that AD&D magic cards were going to send me to hell because, according to the Bible, it made me a practicing sorcerer.
I had the same problem with Worlds of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
That's true.
We never went through that, but I do actually have someone who hangs out in my Twitch chat every night that I'm streaming from New Brunswick, and he has said on multiple occasions that there were a lot of games that he wasn't allowed to play when he was a kid because his mom knew that they depicted magic, and magic was evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
So you're right. It's not uncommon, I guess.
Yeah,
it just never happened to me.
My mom, when I was a kid, she was kind of wary about D&D. I mean, I've never, for as big of a nerd as I am, I've never actually played a game of D&D.
I have tried multiple times. I cannot get into it.
And as a kid, I never really expressed any interest.
Yeah.
My brother was way into it.
Really?
Seriously into it. Had all the Dungeon Master guides and all that.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I tried a couple times and I just was bored.
Really?
By it, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I know my mom was a little, you know, she'd mentioned.
Let's be honest, your mom had a lot bigger problems with you.
Well, clearly. I mean, look at me now.
I wish she joined some kind of cult.
Yeah, so there was like a you know, occasional like, oh, maybe don't play that game because it sounds like it's got some kind of bad values or something like that. But
right,
I hardly never had that.
Really?
I could pretty much play whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to whatever you wanted as long as you let your mom listen with you.
Well, in that one case, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
I never listened to that again. I think
I wouldn't either.
I think it's still. I think the cassette is still at my parents' house.
Your mom listens to it every year just to reminisce.
Oh Lord. Yeah. No.
Oh man, what was that? The Two Life Crew you made your mom listen to?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it was Naughty by Nature,
yes.
was it?
It was Two Live Crew, yes.
Two Live Crew.
I think I have said the story on the show before. It was around the time where that was a big thing, like explicit lyrics and the whole
it's like 1990.
Two Live Crew, As Nasty as
Yep.
They Want to Be, like, and then Banned in the USA was a big thing, and I got caught up in the pop culture ness of it, and I wanted to buy the record Banned
As
in the USA.
did we all.
And I asked my mom if I could, and she said no. So
Yeah.
of course I rode my bike to the record store and bought it anyway.
Right.
Of course I was 6'3". They didn't have to ID me to get
Right.
my explicit lyric content.
Uh-huh.
And brought it home, and it came out that I'd bought it, and she's like, "Okay, you can keep it if we have to listen to it together first."
What was the first track on that album, CJ?
I don't remember what the first track.
I do. I remember.
Oh,
I
I
remember the song you talked about the last time we told this story.
I'm just imagining, again, if CJ's left that album,
Oh.
CJ's left that album at home, and his mom does bust it out on occasion. Oh, you know, I am so horny. That
Oh.
song really gets me.
Oh, I don't know if that song was on there, but
Oh, it
there were
absolutely what that's
there
soft,
were other
nasty as they
songs.
want to be.
Well, it's
And
on Nasty as They Want to Be.
CJ's mom is such a nice lady. That's what makes
Well,
this
that's
so
just-
much
yeah.
worse.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But then you got to remember, like back then, that album was banned in places. There were like
there was
record store
trial.
owners that got arrested for selling that album.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was deemed well, it was illegal.
It was
Ooh,
obscene.
yeah.
It was
Obscene. Thank you. It was obscene content. I
deemed-
think the band was arrested for performing a couple times, weren't they?
I think you're right. Yeah.
It was a big deal.
But yeah, we got like 2 songs in, and then my face was so red.
Your face is turning red now, by
I
the
know
way.
it is. It is. But my mom basically just laughed all the way through it. She thought it was funny. I did not think it was funny.
She was like, "Oh, this takes me back."
Wow. Yeah. But I didn't have to worry about movies or the one thing my parents wouldn't let us watch growing up was the
Porn.
A-Team. We weren't allowed to watch the A-Team.
Because
really.
of the black guy?
No, because of the violent content.
Jeez.
Oh, okay.
The violent
Wow.
I don't know.
content.
It's Midwest. I don't know what the Midwest was like.
Right.
Jeez.
That's just a weird thing to not be able to watch. The A-Team.
Well,
What-
yeah, it was on after Knight Rider, and once Knight Rider was over, we had to turn off the TV because the A-Team was too violent, I guess.
The whole
Yeah, it's not a
all-American wholesomeness of David Hasselhoff
Yeah,
in his
not a nice
car.
moral show like Knight Rider.
I don't think she had screened the A-Team to check the violent content.
Oh, you know what? Then good for her. If she didn't know what it was, and that was the reason why, then
You know, that
makes sense.
fellow really makes it clear that he doesn't like flying, and his so-called friends seem to
Yeah.
trick him to get on airplanes an awful lot. Shame on
yeah.
them.
Fellow. You needed to say that in a much heavier Midwest accent.
You know
but-
who else liked it when a plan came together?
Jesus.
Not what I was gonna say, but okay.
By the way, when I
3 days later, he pushes the boulder aside. I love it when a plan comes together.
together.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my
Stop.
god.
Freeze frame high five. I remember moving to Chicago. The big thing was learning like Mr. T, like calling into radio shows and things like that.
Yeah,
That was awesome, and how much he loved his mom.
of course he does.
Mr. T loves
T
loves his mom.
Mr.
course.
T. You know what?
Mr. T's a cool guy.
That's the thing. You look at look at David Hasselhoff off camera and look at Mr. T off camera. Who is the better role model?
Good point.
T.
Good
Guy
point.
telling you to take your vitamins and love your mama, or the guy drunk on the floor
Eating a burger.
failing to put a hamburger in his mouth?
Guy teaches you how to recoup.
Yeah,
That's right.
Be
Yeah,
somebody
only
or be
one of those.
somebody's fool.
only one of
Yeah.
those two are teach you the way to recoup.
Yeah.
And
All
that, of
right, let's
course-
do this one. This might be our
And
last
Mr. T is great.
Hacker
By the
Alley's
way.
Jeff Grubb says,
yeah.
what are non-scary / non-spooky games that frightened you? I was terrified of the big eel in Super Mario 64, for example.
That is
Yeah, well, he came shooting out of the cave. Was
that's a good example.
Yeah, I have a couple, actually. First of all, the drowning music in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mm,
Oh
yeah.
Terrifying. just really, really got to
Oh,
me.
you know
What's
what? Speaking of drowning,
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to that Penn and Teller VR real quick.
Oh no.
So one of the little mini games that you can play on there is like a
The
Houdini
drowning
style.
simulator.
Basically,
Oh
yes.
no.
It's
I don't-
kind of
No.
it's like a
I don't think I could do that.
it's a Houdini style escape thing. Basically, it is presented as you're in a giant like plexiglass box, and there are chains all over it and locks hanging inside. And you're on the stage of the Penn and Teller Theater in fabulous Las Vegas at the Rio All
Rio.
Suites Hotel and Casino.
Yeah.
And you can see Penn and Teller's you can see their backs because they're facing the audience, talking to the audience, and they're describing how you are a volunteer who is going to be doing a Houdini escape, and the box starts filling up with water from the bottom,
Oh no.
and like a key will drop down into the thing, and you have to reach down and grab it and pull it out and find which lock has the matching symbol, and then you have to put the key in the lock and turn it, and it opens up, and more keys start falling, and you have to again keep picking them up and finding the lock and unlocking it. Meanwhile, the water is rising and rising and rising. And I mean,
I couldn't do that. I don't think I could do that.
and they sell it to you as they're setting it up, where they encourage you to, once the water gets above your nose, start holding your breath and try and work it and get it actually mimic the drowning, mimic
Having
not being able to breathe.
having almost drowned once in a big glass box.
Oh,
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that would be unpleasant.
Traumatic.
I would
Yeah.
not want to do that. Yeah. I tried it. I
Drown.
well, they do if you are underwater long enough, Teller picks up an axe and shatters the case and the water
wow.
spills out. So I did not win, but yeah, I mean, but like when it's like right there and the key drops down and you have to go under the water and find it, and your vision's all blurry and everything, and then you're trying to handle the locks underwater. It's a
Frightening.
little intense, and yeah, I could see why Greg is just noping straight out of
I
that.
can't even, like, in real life, I can't open my eyes underwater.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't normally even go swimming.
Right. no, I don't blame
Too
you.
much.
I don't blame you.
But
Yeah.
what about non-scary, non-spooky games that have frightened you?
Well, that one now. I can't think of anything. Your Sonic one was a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, kind of going to the underwater thing, I've talked on here about how I got freaked out by Astrobot,
Yep.
Mhm.
You did.
the underwater level of Astrobot, with the giant whale appearing out of the inky depths and swallowing you whole. I shrieked and cowered. So
Yeah.
like a 40-something man should while playing a children's game.
Here's the other one that I have.
Fish.
Super Metroid. At the end when the baby Metroid comes out and it's all huge.
Yeah.
That freaked me the hell out. That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
Really?
first time I jumped from a video
Oh
game.
man,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
For the record, I would just like to state that whales are not fish. Whales
No.
are mammals. Whales are mammals.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Live birth.
All right, let's do this one from Hacker Alias Joey Riot, who says, "Hey gang, loved last week's episode. You guys put together a great list, but there was a game conspicuous by its absence, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Silent Hill 2? I played that bad boy at night and with headphones on. Incredible sound design and haunting story."
So we talked about having Silent Hill or Silent Hill
did.
2 on the list. And kind of ashamed to say the reason it wasn't there is because I don't think any of us ever really played it.
It's
Yeah,
true.
it's true.
Although I will say I played probably an hour or two of Silent Hill 2, and that was one of the very first games that I remember. Um, and I was playing it on a stereo system. It wasn't surround sound, but it was on a stereo, and freaking me the hell out.
Yeah.
Just because of the sound. Because very early on in that game, when you first start it, you're parked up. I think if I remember this correctly, you're parked up off a road, and you have to go into the woods. And you're going down this long path,
Mm.
this long gravel path, surrounded by fog, and I think,
Mhm.
and
Would make sense.
you can hear the ambient sound all around you of just the sound of the forest and everything like that. But every now and then you'll hear feet crunching on gravel.
Oh.
Mhm.
And every single time it happened, I'd stop.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it just freaked me the hell out. And it was, again, it's kind of what we were talking about last week, Phil, where it was like midnight, the apartment was dark, and I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I don't watch or watch a lot of scary things. And it's like, what the hell was that? And I would actually turn him around and go back up the path again
Yeah.
because I was certain there was nothing there, absolutely nothing there. But yeah, I remember that intro. I don't remember anything else about the game because I didn't play it enough to really for it to leave a mark. But that intro section, I remember vividly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to play back when the first Silent Hill game came out. I was dating Dana, who was my wife at the time, and I started playing it with her, and she got way too freaked out by it. I think I mentioned
Hmm.
last week with Dead Space how she refused to watch me play that because it was
Too scary.
too scary. And it was the same thing here where, yeah, she was just like, I cannot watch you play this. This is too unnerving. This is too kind of psychologically scarring. I cannot be around when you play that. Unfortunately, at the time, the two of us, I believe, were living in a studio apartment. So there wasn't any real time where we're not together or, hey, I'm going to go in the other room because there really isn't another room. So I just was like, okay, I'll just put that on the shelf for now, and kind of never ended up going back to it because
Yeah.
that's how I work.
Sure.
So yeah, that's why. You know what other game we neglected to talk about last week,
What's that?
and shame on me because it's a TurboGrafx game, is Devil's Crush.
Devil's Crush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, with our guest host, you'd
Devil's
figure
Crush.
that would have been like
You would have thought.
number one.
the game, but yeah, Devil's Crush, such a good,
Yeah. And
such a good.
The Last of Us not on our list
Yeah.
of 13.
Oh, The Last of Us would have been great too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Last of Us, the most I remember. Well, I mean, I love that game, but every time I think about that game, the first thing I think about is actually the intro. It doesn't make
Yeah,
me
well,
scared as
yes.
much as it makes me sad.
Oh
but
yeah.
I need to go back and play that. I want to go back and play that before the sequel comes out, but I probably won't end up doing that. Yeah. And I hope we get to see more of what The Last of Us 2 is all about soon. And
Yeah.
I hope the messaging is different from the stuff that they've shown
Oh yeah.
thus far. That's just been confusing and weird. So, anyway, on that happy note. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1Podcast on the Twitters, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information. You will find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
Eventually.
Probably. You'll also find Generation 16 episodes as they become available.
Yeah, the script for the latest one has been taking a while, but that's just because there's so much great information about this game. I'm really excited about it. So I'm getting really close to having the script finished, but it's going to be a bit of a long road after that because there's going to be a lot of footage to take too. So
Okay. You'll also find show notes and links to all the things that we talked about on the program, including a link to our Discord server so that you can chat about video games and other stuff with us and our other listeners.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting playeronepodcast.com or by loading up Apple's podcast application. You can also head over to the Apple application store and invest $1.99
Cheap.
to pick up the Player One Podcast iPhone application, which gives you one-touch communication with us via the emails, the Twitters, the what have you. You also have all of our episodes ready to stream right to your listening device, including the award-winning episode 666.
It's true.
And hey, Android cell phone, telephone users, the Player One Podcast iPhone application is available for using devices off that same $1.99.
Also cheap.
That's right over there at the Amazon Android Marketplace. We're also on Stitcher Radio. You can like us on Facebook. We're on Spotify. You can watch archives of our show and apparently still watch us live on the youtubes.com.
Yeah, we got to figure out a system to do this better.
CJ's not
'Cause
happy.
I have to like click on myself when I talk now so that I come up on everybody's.
Okay.
We gotta
Well,
come up with something
For the
better.
time being, youtubes.com/P1 podcast.
We're still
Go.
we're figuring it out.
Well, yeah, we'll figure something out.
I mean, you know, we've only been doing it for 13 years. We still haven't quite sorted it out.
Yeah.
We haven't
Give
been
us-
doing video for
give us
13 years.
time. We're trying to iron out the rough spots. It takes time.
Yes.
And if you like what you've heard, and how could you? You can head over to patreon.com/P1 podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. If we get enough of them, maybe CJ will be convinced to figure out how to get this streaming properly.
Probably.
Yeah. But you know what the real prize is? Of course, your Patreon dollars help keep the show running, keep the lights on. But it also, if you are a Patreon of the $5 tier, you get access. You get access Player One by gaining access
That's true.
to a weekly after show where we play games and crack wise and just have the grandest of times. So join us for that, won't you?
With this app, we could probably even
What's that?
record video of it.
Oh, could we?
We probably could.
Well, let's see.
Dun dun dun.
TBD, everybody.
TBD.
Stick around. Hey, and if you have a couple bucks left over, head over to generation-16.com where you will find the Patreon link to help support Greg Stewart's outstanding, and it is outstanding,
True.
video series celebrating North America's favorite runner banana or second up, whichever one you like, the Sega Genesis.
Generation 16.
That's the one.
Thanks, Phil.
Did I say did I not say
I don't think you actually said it.
Generation
Oh.
16? Well, you're going to generation16.com.
That's true.
It's Generation 16. It's good.
Thanks.
Fine. It's fine for what you get.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Are you going to do, Greg, are you going to do a special Genesis Mini centric episode?
Yeah, I think I might.
Yeah.
I generally have not done a lot of clone stuff or you know, but this is different. The only thing is that I'm way behind the curve, obviously, because the important people already got their review units.
That's to my second point. Why didn't you get one?
I don't
One.
I don't know.
You've done more for the Genesis's good name than Philip Muslin, who probably got one.
Who?
That plagiarist kid.
Oh,
He probably didn't.
Right.
Get one.
I don't think.
I don't think his last name is Muslin.
It's Musin.
Muslin?
Yeah.
Muslin.
Whatever. Whatever. Dude's a
Mucinex. Mucinex.
it's a
He's still
Muesli.
Yeah.
You look Philip Muesli.
garbage plagiarist, so
Yeah.
whatever.
But no, I probably will do something. I don't know. I've been thinking about that because I kind of want to do something with the Mega SG and the Mega SD as well. But
Oh, okay.
it takes so long for my episodes to come out. I kind of don't want to lose focus
Right.
as well. So
Yeah, I can dig it.
I get it.
Okay. CJ,
Yeah, huh?
thank you so much
Well, thank you, Phil.
for being here. Gregory?
yo,
There you go. Thank you so much
Thank you, Phil.
for being here. And of course, thanks to our lovely listeners. We love you so much. Hearts and kisses straight your way. Never change. Unless you're a jerk, in which case, stop it. Try being nice for a change.
That's right.
But everyone else,
Yeah.
stay the course. You're doing
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Love you.
We'll see you
See you
see you
next
next week.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Patreon supporter, and we'll see you in a couple minutes in the after show.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Toodles!
Bye bye.
Bye.